stop me. I've been doing this enough times. Somebody stopping me in my presentation wouldn't prevent me from getting back to where I need to get. It's not always great to have people, interrupt. But a couple things I will say. First of all, I wrote this on the board, all right? How many people are relatively new, less than 6 months with Aflac? Okay, so how many of you have done presentations yet? Okay, so the most important part in an Aflac presentation is, because even though everybody knows Aflac and knows the duck, people still do not know what Aflac is. Even people who have it sometimes really forget. They think about their health care plan. And way back in the day, way back in the day, our brochures, little packets we put our stuff in, on the back, right on the back folder, it used to say this. This is the exact phrase that it used to say. And for me, this is how I learned, in a short phrase, what Aflac is to people, what it does, how does it help, why is it different than a health care plan. And this phrase is exactly what Aflac does. Don't let an accident or illness compromise your standard of living. And your standard of living is rent, mortgage, car payment, food, phone, light, tuitions, I don't know, all of the bills that don't ever stop coming due, just when something happens, and will never be paid for by your health care plan. There's no money coming from this health care card that you have, right? That's only going to doctors and hospitals. People think they have that, they think they're covered. You need to make sure they know they're not covered, because that plan is never going to give them one dime to do this, ever. Even if they have the greatest health care plan in the world, and they have no co-pays, and we know in today's world, health reform, whatever, that's not happening anymore. Okay? So even if they had zero, make the presumption, I got a great health care plan, I don't have to pay anything. Oh yeah, you do. But even if you could pay zero from that, where's the money coming from to do this part? It's either coming from one of two places. Your pocket, your savings account, your 401k, your whatever's, or it's coming from this. Coming from an insurance plan. Same reason you buy car insurance, homeowners insurance, I don't know, whatever insurance you buy it so you don't have to come 100 cents out of the pocket to cover a risk that you don't know is going to happen. And when it does happen, cross fingers is not a great plan. If this is your financial plan, it's a great plan until it's not, which means now something happens and now you got no place to go. All right? So that's, sort of my backdrop, and this phrase has been in my head for 15 years. This is where we got started. It probably helped me because this really clarifies in one phrase, for me anyway, what Aflac is all about. So somebody says, well, what does Aflac do? It makes sure that your standard of living is not compromised for when life hits the fan, because it's not coming from your medical plan. All right? That's also the first thing. And so we'll sort of now get started, assuming we're now at the presentation. And obviously I'm going to talk about just about disability today as the main part of my presentation. But we also have other products. Disability is not the only plan that we're going to sell to this group, presumably. Okay. So interruptions. So let's talk about that just for 1 second. I never give brochures out at a presentation. Because if you had this packet in front of you, what would you now be doing?
Distracted.
Does that mean you're listening to me? That's not an ego thing, folks. This is about an explanation and education thing. If they're not hearing what you're saying, they look through this and read through this, they're going to go home and tell their spouse, we got another medical plan that we can have. Oh, we already got one, why do we need another one? This goes over and it goes off on the floor and goes never seen again. Because they don't think they need it. Because they don't know the distinction between Aflac and the medical plan, because they never really listened to the presentation and why it's different. So again, this is just my personal thing. I know a lot of people do give it out. I don't ever give them out. I put them up here and I tell them, you're all going to get one of these. You don't have to write any notes. I'm going to give you everything you need to know. You don't have to write any notes down. Okay? So I don't give out the packets. I do pull them out, and as I talk about the plan, I do pull them out, and I hold them up, and I wave them, and I point, and all the different things that are in there. So it directs them when they finally get the stuff in their hand. They will, know what the brochures and what we're talking about. So I start off. So I first of all always thank the employer for letting us come and grab time. It's great that your employer allows us to come in. They're doing you and your families an unbelievably important service because they know that the health care plan that they're offering cannot possibly do everything for when something happens. So in order to best understand what Aflac is, I'm going to first tell you what Aflac is not. It's not your medical plan. You already got one of those. Would anybody like to buy a second medical plan? No, because it costs a lot of money. But it also covers a lot of stuff. When life happens and you have to go get treated, it's nice you only have to pay those co-pays and deductibles, because none of us could really afford to pay, if you ever seen a hospital bill, it is a lot of money. That's why we have medical insurance, because we could never afford to pay all of that cost. But we still have to, as good as that card is, and we take it out and we give them our medical card, what are we also taking out of our pocket? Our wallet, because we got to pay a copay. We have a deductible, we have a copay. And the more severe the problem, the more money you have to come out of pocket for. Okay? So when you pull this card out, you have to pull this out. Would it be nice to have something that puts money back in this to help you deal with that financial impact? Usually money falls out. So would it be nice to have something that refills that unplanned budget drainer, if you will? Because that's what just happened. You just took money out of your budget to pay for this that you didn't plan for, so how does the money go back into that budget? How does it go back into your pocket? So at the end of the month, when your bills come, and the pile's this high, and now your checkbook is shrunk to some degree, how do you make those two things match up? That's what all of Aflac is about. All of our plans are about making sure that this does not happen, that you don't get compromised. All right, so first I'm going to talk about our disability plan. How many people here get paid? So those who don't raise their hand, get paid. You work for free. I love it. Voluntary work. We love that part. Okay. How many of you could afford not to get paid? Anybody could afford not to get paid? Any Bill Gateses in here, or like Warren Buffett's, or Wendy? Is anybody else? Meredith? They're not that one. Everybody needs to have a paycheck. But if you don't have disability coverage, you have no paycheck. That's what this plan is about. Being able to get paid still for when you are unable to come to work because you got hurt or sick. So get hurt or sick and can't come to work, that's what this plan is about. And the truth is, everybody needs this plan. How many of you people have some kind of financial planning person that you went to for some kind of consultation of any kind? I almost guarantee you the first words that came out of that person's mouth ever about your financial stability were income protection. It's where it all comes from. If we don't get paid, how long can many of us last? Just not very long. We just don't have enough staying power in order to say, well, work is really not that important. So for everybody in this room, this plan is the cornerstone, sort of. I'm going to use a wheel as an analogy of how Aflac works. And the analogy of Aflac coverages and disability, this is the rim on this wheel. So imagine you went in your car this morning, and you have, 4 wheels on your car. They're made up of a rim and tires. So I want to show you how Aflac sort of is an analogy to that. But in this analogy, this is the rim. This is the foundation from how your financial circle of money, if you will, works. If you didn't have a rim, So if you went out and there was only 4 tires laying up against your car today because somebody took you nice rims, guess how far your car's moving this morning? It's not going anyplace. Even if you got like the Michelin best tires ever, if they don't have this to put it on, your car is not moving anyplace. So this is your cornerstone. This is protecting the most valuable asset you have. Your health, the ability to go to work, punch your clock, swipe your card, whatever you do. The ability to go to work and collect your check every week or next week, however often you get paid. Once you can't do that, your financial world is coming to a stop. And now you're all dressed up, you've got no place to go. With disability coverage, you have a place to go. All right. Any question on that? Anybody again need any clarification about how important your paycheck is? Obviously, it's pretty important. All right. Now, what if I told you, how many people have ever applied for an insurance product that they could not get? Someone told them you can't have it because pre-existing, all that. What if I told you this was a guarantee issue plan? That every person in this room, I don't care how sick you are, how many pre-existing things you've had, that you could have this plan. And have it till you're 75. Never go up, never be canceled. Take it with you wherever you go, cover any job you might be at until 75 years old. How many people's flash in their head just went, oh, yes, there must be a catch. It can't be that good. There's no plan that's that good. Oh yeah, there is a plan that's that good. That's this. By the way, that statement's true of all of our plans. Once you're in them, not the guarantee issue part, but once you're in them, they can never be taken away from you. So think about this long-term comment about don't let it compromise your standard of living. I don't care when that is. Once you're in Aflac, you get to keep this forever. All right, so disability. You can have it. The only person who couldn't have it is if you're past 75 years old. It looks like they're past 75 years old. All right? So that's disability. Yes, sir.
If it's purchased before age 75, and once you attain age 75, are the benefits?
The plan stops. This is the only plan that I'll talk about today that stops at 75. All other plans are guaranteed for life. Now, part of the concept there is, the presumption is that, hopefully, most people aren't working after 75. Maybe not so true these days, but that's how the plan is written. You have to remember, this is an insurance product, has to be underwritten, actuaries have to figure it out. So, and we have enough information. We've been doing this more than 50 years, by the way. The Duck's only, 13, 14 years old. Aflac's almost 60 years old. So we've been doing this a long time. We have a lot of data. So we can, calculate the need, the cost, how much we have to get to pay whatever we're going to pay in our plan. But in a disability world, obviously, if people are 75 years old, statistically, we are likely to become more disabled as time goes by, more easily, I should say. So, guarantee only up until that time frame. For now, only before this plan came out, our disability plan only was guaranteed till 70. So, by the way, if you have people out there that are in your groups, it's off the thing for a second. If you have people that are in your groups and they have a current disability plan, you ought to be reviewing disability with this plan. Now, they would have to requalify. It wouldn't be a guarantee issue plan for them. If they have pre-existing conditions, they might not be able to upgrade. But you will be able to give them 5 more years worth of coverage. You might review their salary amount, because maybe they haven't reviewed their plan for 5 years. Their salary's probably changed, and they maybe never really adjusted it. They need to adjust it because they're not going to get nearly what they think they're going to get. Because sometimes they think the plan just automatically goes up. It does not. Okay, yes.
If you retire at 65 and you keep the plan to 75, how do they calculate the benefit?
Well, let's say you retire at 65, but you just retired from your job, but you go do another job. Maybe you go do what you always wanted to do. You open your own flower shop, or you do a landscaping business, or whatever you do. You still have a business. You're generating an income. Well, that plan is still going to reflect and cover you based on a job that you're still doing. Okay?
Even if the salary's different?
Well, if the salary's different, so you have to, and this is a debate we had the other day about people getting paid claims and when they left and what are they doing now. One thing that we can't do, when you are on direct, Aflac doesn't sell this plan direct, so there isn't really a number that Aflac can use to calculate this new premium based on a new number. all right? And let's presume that that salary or what you think you're going to be making is going to be less than what you're earning now. We got a conundrum here. We got a problem. I can't change my rate. I have to keep it at this number, right? But I'm never going to be able to collect the benefit I'm paying for. That's not a good thing. So, and again, not to get too deep into that part. You'd have to go to Aflac direct and do this, and I've had cases where Aflac does, and they readjust the premium based on a lesser number. Not really supposed to do that, but the truth is, as a consumer, I'm not going to pay for something that you're never going to pay me the equitable benefit for. It's not fair. Okay? Or do I want to go have that debate after the fact? So for 3 years I've been paying for this, you now only pay me this. I go back and say, wait a minute, that's not going to work. Are you going to give me the difference in the premium back as to what it would have charged? Let's do that on the front end. That's about the only way I've seen it done. Now, what somebody could do is, let's say you know you're making $50,000 now, and that's what you did this plan for. But you know in this other thing you're going to do, you're only going to be working less time, but you're going to make $30,000. Before you leave your company, because most times this is an after-tax plan, reduce your plan while you're still on payroll. Remember, you're already on the plan, so you can go change your plan whenever you want, as long as you do it before you're off payroll. You could reduce. Aflac will always take less risk. So there's no health screening part that has to be done. So you reduce your plan now down to where you know, in a known way, you can do that. If somebody just gets fired and they don't know and whatever, it's not really this. You can't do something ahead of time if you don't know it's coming.
So could you keep it if you didn't get another job and you were just living on your...
You can keep it, and there are some ways to still get paid. The activity of day living come into play.
Oh, that's good.
You know, different factors can come into play. So, but remember, if somebody gives it up, so let's say somebody loses their job and they give it up, and for 3 months they didn't have, and now they want to restart the plan. Even though it's a guarantee issue plan now when they got it, it's not a guarantee issue plan when they're coming back on. They have to requalify medically on that plan. So you have to really advise people about the risk in giving it up. Guarantee issue, they're going to think, oh, I could just restart at any time. They can't restart at any time if there's a medical condition. If there's no medical condition, then they're back in, they're all good, they pay the same thing they paid before. But that's a risk. So of all of our plans, this is the most important one. If they leave their job or get fired or get laid off, they need to try to keep going if they can, because it might be the one that they cannot restart because of a pre-existing medical condition. All right, so disability is about your paycheck, to make sure that if you can't come to work, that you still have some money to sort of, not to make a pun, but just like the duck, treads water, swims like this. Aflac's job is to keep you and your family's head above water while you're going through this thing that you didn't plan for. So again, and these little analogies or phrases I use are just visual things that hopefully people, as they leave the meeting, go back and whatever, that they remember some of this stuff other than the typical insurance basic garbage crap. Don't let it compromise your standard of living. Tread water. Keep your head above water. The wheel analogy. Whatever. All that is stuff to try to help people go home with some sort of, something they can remember other than insurance and stuff. Okay. So disability really is 4 factors go into what the plan looks like and what it costs. The first is age, so we can't change that. Second is your income. That is what it is, so you don't get to sort of adjust that part, and we will give you a certain amount of money based on that. And then the last 2 factors, of which you will have some input in, is how long do you want to collect the money for? 3, 6, 12, 18, 24 months. You can pick the length of time. How long could you afford to or not afford to be out of work and still get your bills paid? So you will pick the length of time. You will also pick how fast can you get paid. Some people maybe can stay and fund their stuff a little longer and easier than others. So you will get to pick that. Each person gets to design those pieces of the plan, and those 4 things go into the cost factor, the cost factors as to what determines your plan's cost. All right. But I would ask just rhetorically here. This is my question to you to bring all of this part into sort of a closing sense of value and importance of this plan. First of all, if you could have the plan and guaranteed, and those guaranteed rates, by the way, are based on a maximum monthly benefit up to $3,000 a month and up to a maximum length of time of 6 months per event. Now, if you qualify for higher than those amounts, meaning your income level will bring you higher than $3,000 a month, and you're medically good, you can have more coverage. It's just the guarantee issue part of this says $3,000 in 6 months. So no matter how sickly you are, as long as you're working, you would be allowed to have the plan. And the only delay in this plan, and the phrasing is this, if you are being actively treated for a medical condition, actively treated, that means your high blood pressure medicines are still being filled around, you're still rehabbing your knee, you got ongoing diabetes, you got whatever heart issues going on, all of those things, and you're actively being seen and treated for those in the year prior to when you start the plan. So active treatment for a medical condition, that is the pre-existing condition. If you have like a trick knee, you've had since, high school, and you just haven't really ever done something, and it pops out every once in a while, and you pop it back in, but you haven't been to the doctor. Most guys here, go, doctor, let me pop it back in. Is that taps or something?
Just turn it off.
So if you have one of these active medical conditions, that if you go out on disability for that particular thing in the first year on the plan, we will not pay for that. But only for the things that pre-exist, and only a 1-year pause in when you can be paid for being out on disability for that thing that's either been there, be active, or something that you've thought about maybe getting fixed somewhere in the past, and finally decided, well, if I get disability, then maybe I can go and do that thing, because I can't really afford to be out of work. How many people have ever said that? I can't afford to be sick. Everybody. So sometimes we go and do things that we really, shouldn't be doing. We need to go take care of ourselves so we can be and run the track a little bit longer. All right? So that's the guarantee issue part, and that's the delay. But after 1 year, you could have 27 of your diabetic events. You could replace 12 knees. You could do whatever needs to be done for those things that pre-existed, and you'll be paid for disability. But for all the things that aren't here yet, so don't get confused that this is a 1-year wait for all things. It's not. It's only for those pre-existing problems. So guarantee issue, have it, take it with you, whatever. So guaranteed coverage covers you till age 75. Fully portable, take it with you wherever you go. The rate never goes up. The plan cannot be canceled by Aflac. And that plan, and here's the value question you have to all ask yourselves. In the world of how important is your paycheck to doing this, supporting your standard of living. And you can have that plan for 1 hour's wage per week or less. Guaranteed. How many people think that seems like a good value? Almost nobody rhetorically will answer that question, that's too much. I can get a plan less than that. In their heads, in that rhetorical question, nobody ever answers that question that way. There'll always be some wise guy person who goes, well, my brother-in-law sold me a plan, it'll cost 47 cents a week, for whatever. Somebody's going to come up, fine, go buy it, good luck for you. But that rhetorical question, and when you do presentations, asking people to think about what's gone on, whatever, think about it in your head, what would it do, how would you, deal with this, whatever. That's one of the most important rhetorical questions I ask, certainly about disability. If you could have it guaranteed, 75, take it, never goes up, never cancels, all the things that everybody thinks are too good to be true. They're all absolutely true. And it will cost you 1 hour's wage per week or less. I don't know how you don't buy the rim on this wheel, because it's too important to you and your family not to have it. Okay? So that's the disability, and then I go, any questions that people will then come up and ask similar questions that you asked about. Can you take it with you? What happens? Here's another question. let's say somebody has 2 jobs. Anybody here work a second job? Just somebody raise your hand, just like that. Okay. So let's just say, and this is a real case example for me, I had a person who worked as a purchasing manager for a company. When he left his first job, he went and he was a UPS driver. Okay. So he got hurt. Obviously, he came to me and we filed his disability plan. He was out a couple of months from from the job where he got the plan. And about a month after he came back, we were sitting chatting about something, and he said that he had just finished putting some floors down in his kitchen, and he had to wait to do it because he still was physically not able to do the work on the floor he's putting in himself, because he still wasn't able to go back and do his UPS job, his driving job, because he wasn't recovered physically well enough to be able to do what was a more physical job. Basically, purchasing one was purchasing on the computer, do the stuff, whatever, walk around. Obviously, his driving job was lifting and moving and doing all the stuff. So I said, So and how many hours do you? Oh, I work. I work 2 full-time jobs. What do you make there? Oh, about the same as I make here. He's like maybe $36,000 at each job. But he goes to work from one. He goes and he runs up to Willow Grove, and he now works his next 8-hour shift. Well, he hadn't been able to go to work for about 6 more weeks of time after he got back at his regular job. This was about, I was a couple of years in. So I said, I wonder if we could file for this other job under the same plan. We're not paying under this anymore, but maybe I can file under this. Man, I don't know if I can get you paid, but can you get a UPS guy to fill in the form? Yeah, I can get it. Yeah. Guess what? Paid from job number 2. Oh, yeah. Now, let's say he made only half the amount of money. This relates to your question. Let's say he only made half the amount of money. So when the employer filled in that claim form, questioned, what's your average monthly wage? That's what they're going to ask. So let's presume it was half of that. Aflac would only pay about half of what the normal benefit would have been. But they still would have paid, because he's still disabled from what is a regular job, that he has a W-2 that he can show and reflect, got an employer that pays him, and it's a regular part of his income. Now, we couldn't inflate the value of the plan. I couldn't make the plan be a $70,000 income. 35 and 35. And he